Alright, so today we had another Weekly Warriors Den live stream, and this time around the main segment was a Q&A with 3 devs that work on For Honor, and they answered a bunch of questions, so we've got some things to talk about. Now, as usual, I'll be talking about everything I found important from the stream and put my 2 cents in, so let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Alright, so starting things off, we've got a brand new roadmap that shows us what we've got in store for the next month. The highlights being that the Extra XP Fest will be on the 12th, that will be accompanied by a new event playlist, and of course, on the 25th, we'll finally get to see what the Samurai X hero looks like, a day before in-game releases. So I'm expecting within the next few weeks, we'll start to see a few teasers from Ubi showing off what we've got coming to us. And also, we've got some new content of the week, which is pretty cool. Effects are probably my second favorite bit of new content behind execution, so I'm always happy when we get some more. Speaking of content of the week, it looks like next week will be the first week where we won't be getting any new content of the week when an event isn't going on. As we talked about not too long ago, Ubi won't be giving us new content every week anymore, and instead we'll be working on higher quality content, or at least that's what they say. So maybe next week we'll see another sale go live. And finally, we've got another small update today that fixed a map glitch on Kazan Castle and surprisingly fixed the blink glitch on Shaolin, where he could basically use blink without putting it back on cooldown. The bug wasn't discovered too long ago, or at least it wasn't posted too long ago, so I'm really surprised at how quickly they patched it up. Now onto the Q&A. So some of the questions didn't really receive hard answers. Some of the answers were pretty broad, as I'm sure there are still things they can't talk about, or they don't want to talk about things that are still in development and promise us something that may never come to light. The first question we got was asking if some of the older heroes would ever receive another round of buffs. Basically, Ubi wants to continue working on all the heroes and game systems to make each hero viable in every game mode. As we know, some heroes just don't provide much in certain game modes like Orochi and Fours. They mentioned that technically the Lawbringer and Raider reworks coming next season are revisiting these heroes, as they were some of the first heroes to receive a big gameplay change, with Lawbringer shove on block and Raider's soft feint stunning tap. They didn't come out and say yes directly, but I'd assume that eventually they will get around to heroes twice, as they've already done with Peacekeeper, and if Ubi ever gets to all the DLC heroes, then of course some heroes will fall behind and they don't want that. It sounds like they'll be focusing on targeting weaker parts of a hero's kit and buffing them, like for example Kensei's sidelights. Another thing it seemed a lot of people wanted answers to was referring to the cosmetics, the armor and colors. There were a few questions talking about this. So Ubi has been listening to us about colors and whatnot, and one thing they want us to know is on the way is that 90 of the neutral colors will be making their way to the attacker and defender palettes. We're not sure which color palettes they are yet, but we know that we can finally have some more variety when it comes to playing team modes. Personally, most of my favorite colors are neutral, so this is a change that I'm looking forward to, and it's coming sometime in the upcoming month. Ubi also touches on the possibility that Vikings could get some long-awaited changes. First of which being that they're looking into ways to allow us to take ornaments off of the Vikings. I'm all for this, as I've never really understood why Vikings were forced to wear something, as some of the headpieces look really good and will look better without an ornament on it. And also it sounds like they'll be working on giving Vikings more tattoos to use. Tattoos have basically been ignored forever now, and they're not the biggest thing in the world, but it'd also be nice to have a few more, as Viking heroes need more of anything customization wise. Currently Berserker is also being worked on to make his materials look better and probably show up in more places and allow players to be a bit more expressive with him. So if I had to guess, they'll probably be adding more color to him. They'll continue looking at all of the older heroes to see what they can improve on their gear and armor, adding more area to put colors and improving materials. Onto some fight improvements. They talked about a few things when it came to fighting, so I'll be brief and try to cover everything quickly. So it sounds like we'll be getting the start of season patch in season 10 as we always get, but it sounds like we'll also be getting another mid-season patch next season as well, which is great news to me, as we weren't sure if we'd get another mid-season patch after this season, and the mid-season patch really does help with the staleness of the game. So one thing we can look forward to that should be coming in the mid-season patch is some sort of adjustment to the way dodge rolling or unlock running works. If you fought in a bunch of duels, you've probably run into someone who loves to roll away as you start to attack, or just unlock and sprint away real fast or strafe to get into a better position. Doing this can negate a few mix-ups. You can roll away from Shigoki at the right time, you can roll or sprint away from some mix-ups, and Yubi doesn't like this and will offer some sort of solution. They didn't mention what it will be just yet, just that we could see it halfway through next season. I could see them adding a stamina pause after an unlock roll or something like that, but I'm not really sure what they could do to strafing or unlock sprinting. They also talked about parry changes. They will not be changing the parry timing, as they've tested it and it doesn't feel good. It changes the way the game feels a bit too much. They could possibly tighten the parry window just a bit, as they've tested it before and it doesn't make a huge difference and no one can really feel it. Instead, they're looking into making offense a bit better across the board as they're experimenting with some things. They mentioned that even if they do make parries tougher to pull off, that wouldn't really do anything to blocking, which is far easier and still negates a lot of this game's offense, as if it's a light it'll bounce on block, and if it's a heavy or a mix-up you'll still be safe enough to react to just about everything. So they'd rather buff the offense. What that means, we don't really know yet. On top of that, Yubi will be making the stance change for every hero 100 milliseconds, even static guard heroes. Basically what this means is that when you switch guard, you'll be able to do stuff after 100 milliseconds. And they'll also introduce a way to make attacks that have a lot of forward momentum not phase through opponents, like Shaman's Headbutt. Sometimes she'll go to headbutt someone and ghost right through them, which can be annoying for Shaman players as they shouldn't be punished for using the headbutt the right way. And the last thing regarding fight changes is that they won't be giving assassins standard guard ever, and it sounds like they'll eventually be buffing the guards of both Gladiator and Shinobi so that they match the guards of the other assassins. There was a lot of questions in the Q&A, as I said, that didn't get clear answers like yes, this is going to happen, or no, we don't plan on doing this. They talked about the UI for a bit and mentioned how they're going to keep improving the UI. Currently, they're transitioning their user interface systems to something else, and when that's finished, they can start working on things when it comes to the fight HUD, like the external guard indicators being all over the place. I personally can't wait until they finish this, as sometimes indicators are really weird, and maybe with this they could finally add an external guard break indicator so that you can tell when you're being grabbed from off screen, or maybe even an indicator letting you know when a bash is on its way from off screen. Yubi also mentioned that currently there are no plans to add any Wulin maps to the game. Maybe I'm reading too far into this, but maybe that means that the Wulin won't make it into the faction war in any way, or maybe not in a traditional way where they have a base of sorts and move out from there, which is sort of confusing to me as they are an actual faction and not just tied into an existing faction. They even have a new hero on the way. I'm not a huge fan of the Wulin style or aesthetic, but I bet that they'd probably have some of the best looking maps in the entire game, but oh well. And that was most of what the Q&A had to offer. Again, it was a pretty good one. I'm just glad to hear that Yubi is going to continue with the mid-season patches, and it sounds like the next one is going to be making a lot of changes, and changes good in For Honor, as long as it isn't anything too crazy or anything that hasn't been tested for long enough. It sounds like next season will be another good one and bring the game closer to what it's supposed to be. They talked about how they want the game to be good for both the casual and competitive crowd, and get to a point where when they make a patch, they make both crowds happy, or at least have each crowd understand why they did what they did. And I'm glad that they're being a bit more transparent with that. Hopefully by the end of season 10 we're at that point, or at least by the end of the year. I'm glad that we got a bunch of answers about cosmetics and colors, as that's something that we don't hear too much about. Now the next step should be giving us single color palettes and maybe bringing back minion kill animations. I really want those to come back. Anyways, that's all I've got for this video. Before I go, for anyone that made it this far into the video, I'm teaming up with someone to host a tournament for this game. In a few days, I'll be posting a video going a bit further into it, but I just wanted to bring it to the attention of as many people as I can. It's going to be a 2v2 tournament, as I can't really watch a Dominion tournament, and there will be a tournament for each platform, but not at the same time. We'll be deciding which platform to hold it on first pretty soon, depending on how many players will be playing and what platform they're playing on. I want it to be fun, and I don't want anyone to feel like they're being gatekept or anything, so if you want to play, please keep your eyes open for what will most likely be my next video, as I want all of you guys to be a part of it and have a chance to win some money for playing a game. I just wanted to mention that really quickly. Anyways, I do want to hear from you guys, so talk to me down in the comments about anything we talked about in this video. And as usual, if you like the video, feel free to leave a like and sub if you're new, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.